Hello, hello, hello! Welcome back, everybody, to the latest episode of the series of Fortunate Events podcast, brought to you by who? Still me, always me, Miss MeMeCherry. And oh my gosh, you guys, what a booking coup! I have Christian Finnegan on the podcast, NYC-based comedian, writer, actor, and I have to say it again for the KTG gang, what a booking coup!
I'll never live that down, will I? Never. So sad.
I mean, there's other things that could follow you around, so like, at least
I guess you're right. It could be worse. Yeah. Yes.
How are you doing, sir?
I am all right, I suppose. I mean, are you at this moment, at this day, or at this life? That's they're all very different.
You know, I'll take whichever one you want to say.
Let's just do a blanket fine.
Nice.
Yeah, I'm okay. How are you?
COVID okay, yeah.
Right.
You know, it's like everything is COVID related. I'm actually doing okay. You know, it's been a little struggle bussy on and off, but hey, we're here. We got up this morning, and I had an amazing chance to have you on the other side of the camera today. So why not get up and actually put some clothes on?
God, heaven forfend. Where are you right now? Like physically?
Alameda, California.
Okay. So yes, it's still on the early side there.
Yes. And this is my lunch break. So I am a longtime fan via the Keith and the Girl podcast, aka KATG. And I went and looked. Your first episode with them was number 421 in January 10th of 2007. So that's how long I've known about you.
I'm honestly offended that they did 420 podcasts without inviting me, quite frankly. But
I mean, you did know them even before then because you also have the surf reality history with them.
Although I told Keith this, like I have like no memory of Keith from those days, like very little, other than just this sort of loud guy who would bellow a lot.
Yeah.
Hemda, I knew very well. But Keith is always like, remember back at Surf Reality? I'm like, nope. But yes. But yeah, I've known them for forever and a day. Yeah. They are podcast royalty.
Yes, they are. What are some of your favorite memories? Because you've been on that show a lot of times over the years. You've been on marathons. I mean, you've been there for like the gamut of the experience. What are some of your like favorite memories of the Keith and the Girl gang?
Boy, I remember I think the first roast that they did at what was then the Laugh Factory in Times Square. And that was a good deal of fun. Where else? I mean, I never really loved going out to that Hemda's old house out in the boonies of Queens. But I always left there with a story for my girlfriend, now wife, about what creepy, horrible decor would be going on in the house. It's like, yeah, they just had a treadmill in the corner and there was like a half-eaten piece of pizza on it. I don't know why. But I mean, you know, they're always fun. I mean, I've made the mistake many times of I hate the word triggering. I hate what it implies in 2020. Like, oh, you triggered. But I would have this habit of setting off Hemda in a way that made her just get like genuinely mad at me, where we would be in an actual fight. And I'd have to remind myself like, hey, you know, we're not dating, right? Like this is the sort of anger that is reserved for someone you should be having sex with or used to be having sex with.
Oh my gosh. So Keith and the Girl, they host this Wednesday chat party poker night. I don't know what was in the universe, but somehow you came up last night, and I was like, "Oh my god, I'm going to record with him tomorrow."
Oh, really? Because I haven't come up in any of their booking emails recently.
Oh, not so much of a booking coup.
Yeah. I'm sorry. Anyway, you were saying that. So I came up in their Wednesday.
Well, and, you know, I think I don't know what it was. Like every once in a while, like it's like, you know, the fans will ask random questions. You know what I mean? Sure. And so somehow, I don't know how, but you came up, and then the dynamic that you two was like a big part of the conversation, and like how she's so aggressive with you, but that you rile her up, or do you guys rile each other up? And then ultimately, it was just that you guys have this kind of like brother and sister, you've known each other for a long time, but sometimes did they date?
Right, like a brother and sister, like a
Yeah, like a brother and sexter.
I don't have any sisters, so I can make that joke.
That's why you can make the joke.
Exactly. No, I don't know what it is, and of course, Keith, he lives to just wind people up. I mean, there's nothing he likes more than getting two people into an argument with each other, and then just adding lighter fluid to that fire. So
Here's
I mean, he loves it.
Number 1 to 10 how much you love each other, but don't show each other.
Well, I'm sorry, say it again.
The one that he does, here's 2 pieces of paper, number how much you love each other, but don't show each other.
Oh, that's brutal. I've never done that. I've never been asked to do that before.
Well,
that's
thankfully they spared you that one.
I mean, you would just default and lie and say 10, right? I mean, unless
you'd be surprised.
Oh, that's brutal. Oh, like he does that with a couple?
Mm-hmm.
Or okay, that's weird. Yeah, I would just.
I never did that with you and Cambry.
Yeah, I think Cambry and I have only been on like maybe a couple times together.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's I know Keith too well. The first time that Keith met my now wife, she pissed him off, or he pissed her off big time. I think she had gone on the show, or she met him somewhere, and she came home like, what the fuck is that guy's deal? Because I guess she had like glitter. She had put glitter on her collarbone.
They are very anti-glitter.
Well, but it was like, he just, apparently, the next time I saw him, I was like, he mentioned, he's like, yeah, she's put glitter on her tits. I'm not supposed to look at her tits. Like, there's glitter on there. Like, oh, but I'm not supposed to look, And Keith was a lot less evolved back then.
I was going to say, this is like, Keith is like a Pokemon. He has... evolved over time. I do sit in the OMAT mornings with them too. He has become more of a human. But yeah, I think it's funny to go back. Today I kind of went back and listened to snippets of older shows just to kind of get a feel of, the journey along the way. But yeah, it's always, I'm one of the ones that I love when you're on the show, but I will definitely go ahead and...
Well, it's never nice to hear. I love it when you're on the show. I mean, other people not so much, but I happen to enjoy it. I mean, call me a weirdo, but I don't think you're an asshole at all. No.
I mean, what you plead the what? The 4th, the 5th? I don't know. One of those numbers you plead.
I think it's just the 5th. I don't think you ever plead. I plead the 9th. What? Anyway, but yeah, no, I love them to death, and they have something so special, and I think that they really amplify each other well, like that they're greater than the sum of their parts, and they're both great individually, but I think that they click in a way that few people do, and it made me understand something that I think I knew intuitively, but I hadn't really put my finger on, is the difference between being a funny person or a comedian and being a good broadcaster. Yeah. That being a broadcaster is a different talent, and that they both have that in spades, which is like the ability to do not what I'm doing right now, which is like the thing that I always admire about Keith is that he can read any news story or any conversation can come up, and he immediately has a take on it and a point of view, and he can just expound on that extemporaneously.
And is also immediately offended if nobody feels the same way that he does.
Yeah. But the ability to keep that plate spinning and not kind of get bogged down in like, boy, is this the funniest angle I should take on this? Well, maybe I'll sit down and I'll write out a paragraph about what I might think about this, and then I'll, no, he just goes. And like Howard Stern has that quality too. I think a lot of the great broadcasters, like Howard Stern's not a stand-up comic. He never was, but he would have the ability to just sort of, you pull a string and he just starts talking, and that's a different thing than being a guy who can get up and do about 10 tight one-liners,
Yeah, I think me and him reference some of his magic as like the Tao of Keith.
Yeah, he's an extremely lazy cult leader. Which is true of many people in our industry, but...
Well, I mean, speaking of the industry, I lead the show with, oh, what a booking coup. But, for example, when I called my best friend this morning to be like, oh, do you know X from X show. So obviously it's like, I mean, I wonder how you must feel that you get remembered for very specific things and also specifically for being a cuck in a corner is the way that I called it. I was like, do you remember the Chappelle show? She's like, yes. I was like, do you remember the cuck in the corner? She's like, you're going to have him on the show? What?
Yeah, it's a weird thing. I mean, I it's a strange thing to sort of have your career pinnacle be something that sort of happened at the very beginning, and I don't ever get annoyed if people bring it up. I get annoyed if people bring it up while I'm on stage, or I get annoyed if people like repeatedly bring it up every time I see them.
Mm-hmm.
But it's nice to be remembered for anything, and I don't I kind of liken it to having caught a home run ball or having a scratch off that really paid off. Like I don't think I did anything to ruin that show or that sketch, but it wasn't my thing. I was a passenger on the Chappelle train. So yeah, I feel very, very fortunate about that, and I try to remember. It doesn't really happen so much anymore. I always know I'm getting fat again when people start recognizing me from Chappelle's show. Like it's like clockwork, This because I'm like an accordion. I get fat and skinny and fat and skinny.
Right
and
here.
anytime I start to get fat again, people are like, "Oh my God, are you on the Chappelle show?" I'm like, "Oh, I'm officially cut some bacon off your back, guy again."
Time to cut back on the bagels.
Yeah, it's going less and less likely, But what used to happen all the time, like, 5 times a day, I had sex with Katie too, or Katie's had some big ass titties, or what's the square to this apartment? There's probably 10 different lines that people would say. I would always try to remember that this is the first time this person has ever said that to me. So it's like, even though I may have heard it 100 times, it's not that person's fault.
Yeah.
To try to, not be a total prick about it. But
well, that's a really good way to look at it. I think it's very healthy, and at least it's not like on the scale of like a Pete Davidson who will be known for dating Ariana Grande. You know what I mean? Like, which one would you prefer?
Yeah, I don't really have
a preference
things to say about Pete Davidson.
No.
I don't, I don't.
But just in general, like remove him, but just the concept of it. You know what I mean? Like, just more conceptual.
I mean, it would be nicer to have made more money off of that thing that people will say to me for the rest of my life. Like, it's one thing if you get constantly badgered about a role that you did, but you made $10 million from it. But it's like, I think I got 3 days at scale for doing that show. Like, that's, kind of so interesting to me is that was like 4 days of my life, like nothing more, I mean, maybe 5 or 6 days when you count costume fittings and crap like that. Yeah. But we shot for 4 days, I think 3 days in the house. And then 1 day where we did the confessional interviews. And that made such a massive impact to my life in every way, shape, and form. And then I've worked on projects for months that have, were a pebble in a pond, like that did nothing. And so that's sort of the nature of the beast, I guess.
Yeah, for sure. Nature of the bee is. So fast forward, you are no longer on there. You're working on your own things. You have 3 specials that are currently available: 2 for flinching, au contraire, the fun part, and coming soon, 60% joking.
No, that was last year.
Well, then you need to update your website, sir.
Do not take my website seriously. I think I updated my website. I think it was a GeoCities site. No, I think it was circa 2. Does anyone, I mean, honestly, you're like the first person to try to quote something off of my website in 5 years. So how much do I really need to update it? I mean, I know I do. But I don't know, man. I guess if I took my career more seriously, like I kind of stopped trying a bunch of years ago in a negative way. And that was the sort of hilarious thing, is that 2020 was going to be my year where I tried again.
Oh.
I got really, and I don't mean like, I mean, of course I tried.
So it's your fault.
Yes. Oh yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. The Mother Nature was like, you're hilarious. I shall thwart you now. And if I have to thwart in the entire world just to screw you over, Christian Finnegan, because clearly this is all about you, then that's what I'll do.
Well, I also wasn't paying close enough attention when I last heard you on the show, or I would have remembered that. But so tell me about, doing your own work and your own specials and all of that.
But yeah, so I've had 4 albums and 2 specials. The most recent album was 60% Joking, which came out in, I think, June of 2019. And I actually just shot something.
Am I breaking news here?
I'm sorry?
Am I breaking news here?
Well, you may in a sense. My wife owns this performance venue called QED Astoria,
Yes.
which is where I currently am. And obviously, when COVID hit, both of our careers sort of abruptly ended at the exact same moment because we couldn't open and I couldn't do shows and everything. And then there was a period in like May, June, July where we were doing shows in the backyard. We have a backyard here. And we were doing outdoor shows 3 or 4 days a week. And it wasn't paying the bills, but it was paying some bills. Mm-hmm. And it was a lot of work for not a lot of payoff, but it was fun. And a lot of the performers and audience members were like super appreciative because we were able to do it safely. It was like 25 was considered sold out, and we had everybody spread out. And I decided at that point, like, fuck it, man. I had a bunch of new material that I had been working on. I was like, I'm just going to shoot a special. I'm going to hire a couple friends of mine and we're going to do a down and dirty special. And then, of course, the city kind of cracked down and we had to close again. But the rules are so arbitrary and so stupid that you can't do ticketed events outside, but you can have gatherings of under 50 for personal private parties. So we did it and film shoots are allowed. Film shoots are allowed, shows aren't, which makes, I don't know what kind of sense that makes. But we did it as a film shoot. We did a free, I invited the audience personally, people who I knew or people who had come to previous shows of mine. And I hired my friend Victor Varnado, who maybe you know, and he shot it. And a friend of ours is currently editing it. And we shot some sort of documentary footage to sort of go with it. And hopefully, and that will be theoretically my 3rd special / 5th album, which hopefully will come out sometime towards the end of the year, is my hope.
Well, fingers crossed. I wonder if the difference between, and not to play devil's advocate, but I wonder if the difference between a film shoot versus a ticketed show is that you can probably enforce COVID, even down to testing and stuff like that, more for a shoot, like COVID guidelines versus like a show where it's like at best temperature at the door. You know what I mean?
Well, yes and no. I mean, this is
and
something.
Just out of curiosity.
Yeah. Well, this is something we've been neck deep in. My wife specifically. I mean, my wife helped gather a bunch of venue owners in New York and held a big press conference that was attended by a couple state senators and people to ask that live performance at least be treated like other like-minded things. Like you can have trivia night at bars right now, but you can't do a live outdoor show.
I didn't know that.
Not even an outdoor show.
That's ridiculous.
You can go bowling. Your bowling alleys are open. All these things are open.
Then that's ridiculous.
Yeah, and it's like, yes, there are certain things that make live comedy specifically more dangerous than other events. Obviously people laughing, ideally, and things like that. But there's many things about live comedy that are a ton safer than other things that comedy venues, by course, collect tracing info on every single person who comes to the door. It's like it's not like a restaurant where people just kind of come and go. There's tickets that are sold in advance, and I have all their contact info. Blah blah blah. I'm going down a wormhole here, but
no. I was actually wanted to talk about these things. So you literally just naturally led to my next few topics, so we can keep going down this wormhole. It's
super frustrating just because they don't, Como, we're not big fans of, they really have hung the arts out to dry in ways that are really frustrating, and because they don't want to, they just won't address it. They won't even address it. The State Liquor Authority basically said, specifically named comedy shows. You can't do comedy shows. And there was a big proposal, a 5-page proposal submitted about here's how we can do this safely, lower capacity out. And we were just trying to advocate for outdoor shows. Some people want to do indoor shows that I personally find unsafe and absurd. But we just wanted the ability to use our our backyard to have 20 people sitting out. But now, of course, as it gets into late October, it's becoming less and less. And so we've already missed that window.
Yeah.
But it's like they don't want to flat out say what the deal is, because all we wanted, or all I personally wanted, was just let us plan our lives. Like, what is the deal? If you're not going to allow any sort of live performance, whether it be it indoor, outdoor, whatever, until spring 2021, say that, so we can plan our lives and not be in this sort of constant holding pattern, because our landlord is still expecting rent, but they don't want to say that, because the minute they say you're fucked until spring, well,
cancel
then it's
the
going to
rent
be
and all
like,
that comes up.
exactly. And so they would rather just sort of shrug and ignore your phone calls and blow you off. And so, we don't know what's gonna, it's our landlord. Luckily, we have an actual landlord as opposed to some sort of business management company.
Mhm.
Like, it's a guy, he's 3 doors down from QED. And so he's been pretty understanding so far. We haven't been paying full rent, but we have been paying half the rent for the past few months. But, we can't just do this indefinitely. At a certain point, we have to close up, and it's going to be really, it's going to be sad for, I would, I'm not speaking out of turn when I say it's going to be sad for a lot of people in the community. I mean, this place has become kind of beloved among certain people, especially in Astoria, and it's sad and it's frustrating. And so we don't really know what's going to happen. But so, when we shot this special, I shot it in September, one of the things I said is, like, I have no idea whether this is an advertisement or a eulogy. I don't know, we just don't know. But and that could apply to both the space and me. But it's, I wanted to look back and say, hey, during 2020, like, I did something. It wasn't just, I've certainly done a lot of nothing, but I did a little of something. So
Yeah, I live in the Bay Area, and a lot of my friends are drag performers, and I know owners of small venues, and they've thankfully been able to pivot to like sidewalk drag shows, like drag queens that are like doing backspins on the metal grates on the sidewalk, because that's how they're going to get the tips, right? But with a mask and a shield, and like, it's just so surreal. And I just keep wondering what happens because winter is coming, like in so many ways, the eviction wave is coming, the continued unemployment is coming. I'm very blessed. My day job is in tech, but I was unemployed this year. I still count my blessings every single morning, that I am currently employed, and I know how easily that can go at any time. And the anxiety that like everybody is living through, I feel like I've had a few people on that I asked them, how are they coping in this world that basically feels like your emotions and your senses are just being assaulted every single day? Race riots, and the police stuff, and Cheetolini, and election. Like, I feel like there's a clock on my wall. I can hear it ticking down for the days. And so how are you two coping? Are you like, I don't know.
I mean, everybody has their own ways of dealing with it, and I would say that my wife, her emotions are very present. Like, she has very thin skin. Like when she's happy, it, and when she's not happy, it. And so she, gets really upset sometimes, like super upset, like sobbing upset, but in a way that's way healthier than how I'm dealing with it, because she gets it out, she moves on, and then the dogs do something cute and she's back in a better headspace, whereas I tend to kind of retreat a bit into my own head, and I get really blank, and I drink too much, I get high too much, I just kind of want to disappear into myself, and I've known that for a long time. That's how it tends to manifest with me. And so I kind of wish I was howling at the moon and screaming and crying, but more than anything, I find that I become very inactive. and like mentally sedentary.
Mhm.
And so that's another reason why I wanted to try to shoot this thing, is just I need goals. Like I need something to do. And I had been sort of struggling with some of that for the past few years in general, which is why I was saying, like in 2020, I was like, all right, this is going to be the year where I like engage fully and I put myself out there in ways that I maybe make me a little uncomfortable. And you know, it was only a couple of months, but it was going like super well. Like it was bizarre. I was back up to running almost 8 miles, which is, you know, hilarious because now I barely muscle through 4. But you know, I was, you know, I had booked myself a bunch of road work and I had done all this stuff, and you know, and again, we've all had our own rugs pulled out from under us this year, repeated rugs. It's like, oh, I had no idea that I was still on top of a rug, but that one just got pulled out as well.
Oh, I thought I was finally flying on the rug for a little bit. I guess I'm just flying in the air.
yeah. I always think it's like, oh, you think you've hit rock bottom, and you're like, oh, it turns out there's a trap door. This goes way further down. Who knew?
Boom, scat, boom, scat, boom, scat.
But you know, we're all just fucking muddling through. I mean, and it is just so much all at once. You know, I'm not saying anything a million people haven't said, but if we just had a stable government or an economy that was functioning, or the ability to hang out with our friends, or like, but just having it all at once, all the time. Yeah. It's just, you know, it's crazy making. It really is crazy making.
Yeah.
And so my, you know, part of me just feels like just bite down and get through it. I guess. I mean, I don't know what it's going to be like. You know, we're more fortunate than other people in the sense that, you know, we do have some savings and, you know, it's being eaten into right now, but hopefully, you know, my wife was able to get, you know, applied and got a loan for this place. But we haven't touched it because we don't want to. We don't need another loan. Like, we don't need debt. Mm-hmm. But I'm hoping that when the clouds part and some sort of stimulus deal is reached, that at the very least, maybe they'll forgive those loans. And if they were to just do that, just do that, because it's not like, you know, forgive all loans under $200,000, whatever, which is really pennies.
Wasn't it some of it pitched that way, that if you know, like,
so, yeah, there's different deals. There's the state deals, the federal deals. Like, you know, there's certain things you have to be for specifically for payroll, which sounded like a sensible idea back when everybody thought this was going to be 2 months and then back to normal. Yeah. But it's like, it's of no use to give people money to spend on payroll if there's no work to give them.
No.
And so, you know, we pissed that money away, kind of. I mean, not piss it away, but it's like we spent it on employees, basically looking to give them things to do, just so that to give them money, because just as we were essentially a middleman to the couple employees we were able to keep on for a while, but that ran its course.
You were maintaining an economy within your own walls.
Yeah. I mean, it's strange. This is the first time in my life where I've ever felt, and I'm sure this is true of most of us, where you actually felt the economy. Like, it's not just some sort of vague thing that you read about, like, oh, stock market's up, or the economy's good, the economy's bad. It's like, oh no, I literally, my next year depends on whether this stimulus bill ever gets passed. And of course, now it's probably not going to happen, because this way, now that McConnell and all the Republicans are pretty sure that Trump's going to lose, they basically want to just, you know, dive bomb the economy as much as possible so that Biden walks into a smoldering heap. Exactly. Yeah. And then they can be like, look at how terrible the economy is, you know. But we are playthings.
This is the America that you want Biden to give you? No, motherfucker, this is the America you gave us.
Yeah, I mean, it's exactly what happened with Trump, too. And then immediately, I promise you, the day after inauguration, they'd be like, oh, look at these Democrats want to spend all this money. We have to bring down the deficit, which is horseshit. Anyway.
Yeah, no, I mean, it's kind of crazy. Yeah, and I was going to ask you, like, election thoughts, but I feel like we got that one out.
I think we know. I mean, I don't trust anything. I mean, I have no idea.
I don't either.
I mean, I know in a fair fight with, you know, a fair counting and all that, I'd feel pretty comfortable, because, you know, Biden's like way outside the margin of error and things like that. But who the fuck knows?
Yeah, there's a few things that are signaling me that they're super desperate, and that adds to it going either way. The Republicans putting fake ballot boxes in California, a state that
Mhm.
is usually pretty like just windfall Democrat, at least for the presidential race. And that all of a sudden this week, Trump is on Twitter appealing to New York, California, and like some other Democrat state.
Illinois. Yeah.
Yes. And I'm like, are the numbers showing that he might lose Texas? Because this
Yeah,
feels a little like desperate.
Yeah, sometimes though, smarter people than me though have said, stop trying to look for the secret
Yes.
strategy with Trump. That it's just pure id. It's completely pure id. It's the drunk guy at the bar, except that he doesn't drink, which makes it worse.
I don't know though.
Like, this is you sober?
He's such a liar and such a con that like maybe he doesn't drink, but is he sober?
Right. Yeah. Yes, exactly. Just because it's ground up and stirred into his mashed potatoes, that doesn't mean that it's.
And by mashed potatoes, nose, yes. So I play this game sometimes with my friends, and I'm curious what you would answer. Which apocalyptic movie are we living the prequel to?
That's a good one. Let's see here. I'm trying to think of, because I don't think it's going to be like The Road. I don't because that was purely seemed to be like a climate related apocalypse. This is going to be messier.
Okay. I will give you that when I answer, I do a mix of two, and I'll give you my answers because I think you kind of touched on some of it with one of my answers. So mine is a mix of Waterworld meets Hunger Games. That's mine.
That's not bad. That is not bad. I mean, the easy answer would be Idiocracy. Like, I mean, it's
we're
almost
living it.
I know it is bizarre that some of the stuff in that movie has literally happened. I mean, some of the things that were comedy are now just like, oh yeah, of course, this is, I mean, you could make the argument that Terry Crews in Idiocracy is a smarter, more coherent politician than our current president of the United States, which is bizarre.
Yeah.
Bizarre.
And then the whole wrestling kind of like tie-in and all the wrestling memes. And it's just like, it's a little too close to home.
Yeah.
Well, also in preparation to this show, I sent out a tweet and I said, I'll be recording a podcast with Andrea Comedy and a podcast with Christian Finnegan this week. Send me your questions and a really cute GIF. And of course, Keith Malley coming in hot. When's the last time he cried and what was the last real fight with his wife about? And then you said, what if both instances were related to you?
Keith doesn't make me cry. He makes me sigh. Yeah, I mean, but again, though, that's perfect Keith. It's like, oh, stir the pot, like create discord. I would say that I cry more easily now. I'm getting kind of John Boehnery in my advanced years, but I generally only cry regarding pop culture, not pop culture, but like arts things, or
like when you're moved by something.
Yeah, or when I'm describing something. Cambry and I, we're tossing around the idea of trying to write like a young adult novel together, just as like something to do when it's dead in the winter and we have nothing to focus on. And, so we've just been kind of tossing around. We have this sort of general premise and we've been kind of trying to work out an outline and things. And I got super weepy coming up with an idea for that. And like, I just got that quick throat clench, when it just hits you all of a sudden, you're like, oh, no, I can't talk. But again, it's like, I only feel like that when I'm talking about fake human beings in an imaginary world. I wish that I had more of those feelings. I think when I'm pretty good at being honest with myself and sort of analyzing situations, but sometimes when I'm confronted with truly sad realities, it's almost like putting your nose in a sour carton of milk where it's like, nope, can't do it. Can't, too much. And then I just sort of emotionally like, all right, not going down that road. But yes, I would say we came up with the idea for a children's story, and it made me choke up a little bit.
So you're really good at compartmentalizing, is what I'm hearing.
Yeah, that sounds about right. And as far as the last fight, I mean, come on, man. I mean, are you married?
No.
Are you in a long relationship of any sort?
I am currently specifically not dating because I'm trying to heal some like really bad patterns, toxic abusive relationships and stuff. But
I was gonna say though, like, you know, when you've been in a long-term relationship, it's like I don't understand couples who are like, oh, we don't fight. It's like, really? Then do you love each other? Because I just don't. To me, that's absurd. So yeah, I mean, my wife and I get in fights all the time. So I wouldn't even be able to isolate the most recent one. It was probably about something as stupid as I got mad because she left coffee in the microwave, which is a pet peeve of mine, or the 50 like that I didn't make the bed, or something inane like that, which is really about way deeper, realer stuff, but that the bed making is how it manifests.
Of course. Yeah, I mean, I'm Puerto Rican, and so I definitely know how to express my emotions when I need to.
I would never make that assumption because I am a racially evolved human being, and
well, it's just like that's my throwaway. Like when somebody's like, why are you being so aggressive, or why are you being so loud? I'm like, I'm Puerto Rican. This is just my tone sometimes. It's called passion.
I think that, again, and my wife is from Texas, and I think there's a similarity in that it's like your emotions may be more easily accessed than other people. And I'm from New England, where everyone sort of lives in emotional bubble wrap all the time. That it's everything is sort of encased in iron. And
the glass.
Yes. But I do think that I have a dumb theory too, that people from warm climates, they tend to be more emotionally expressive because they're around each other more. Because, air conditioning is only 100 years old or whatever. And so people had to be outside more. And when people are outside interacting all the time, they're more expressive with their emotions. Whereas people from cold parts of the world are alone by themselves in their homes. And so that makes them more reserved and icier.
That makes so much sense to me.
Yes. So it's not a racial thing, but it is a cultural observation.
Geographical location. That goes beyond race and culture.
That's what I'm telling myself.
Well, I like to say that I pitched this show, my elevator pitch, as a podcast concept. It's part Bawa, and part Andy Cohen. So the first half is like the super serious, like interview questions. I almost made you cry, but not really. And then the second half is just stupid, silly games. Okay. So I came up with, for you, Mr. Christian Finnegan, because you mentioned that you are pretty good with music videos specifically. I know that you're really good about music in general. So I was like, okay, how do I do this? And I bopped around in my head, and I basically found an Insider article listing what they considered iconic music videos. So I'm going to read you the name of the song from an iconic music video, and I want you to name the band. And you get extra points if you can get the year.
Okay. And
so we're gonna
I'll see if I can describe the video for you as well.
Oh my gosh, extra points. Life on Mars.
Well, I mean, that's David Bowie. Okay. I mean, I actually produced a David Bowie trivia contest here once at QED, because he's probably one of my 2 or 3 all-time faves. Okay. And that was one of the first actual music videos. They did a music video of David Bowie in his rich sky blue eyeshadow and flaming orange hair, and it's basically just him on a white backdrop singing. I don't even know what they called them at the time. They didn't call them music videos, but yes, it is probably one of my top 5 Bowie songs as well. So that's chicken feed. That's easy. That's a slow pitch. Pitch, I think 73.
Ooh, all right. And they do go in order of like getting closer and closer to current age.
Chronological?
Yes. I just wanted to make sure as I checked the years. Yes, so we will start in the 70s and we make it to the 2000s.
Hits from the 70s, 80s, 90s, and
today. I saw somebody on Twitter, a drag performer, that was like, why do they say 70s, 80s, 90s, and today? And another drag performer said, because those are the only years that count. So, and some of these are going to be gimmies because they're iconic, but I was like, I don't know. I think it would be fun.
Year-wise, I probably won't get most of the years. But yeah,
okay. Thriller.
That, of course, Michael Jackson. I'm going to say 83, 82,
oh my gosh,
83.
You got it.
83? Okay,
yes,
cool. All right.
Yes. Take on Me.
Take on Me would be Aha, and I'm going to guess 84 for that.
Yes. And as I realized, some of them were kind of sequenced, but then they do skip along the way. So, okay, it's not so much of a gimme year-wise. I'm like, wait, did I make this?
So I'm going to guess this next one is older then, or else you wouldn't have brought that up.
Or is it?
Oh, you're doing a double fake. All right.
Don't Come Around Here No More.
Don't Come Around Here No More is Tom Petty and the Heartbreakers, and I'm going to say 86.
It's 85. It was
85. I was vacillating. All right.
All right. I Want to Dance with Somebody.
I Want to Dance with Somebody is Whitney Houston, and that song has a very special place in my heart because, as I mentioned to you in an email, I won a car once on a VH1 game show called Name That Video. And in the final round, I had to name 10 songs, song, and artist, and that was my winning song. That was the final song that won me a car. So
What year?
87.
Yes.
Okay.
Oh, you're doing pretty good. You're doing pretty good. Opposites Attract.
Opposites Attract. That would be Paula Abdul with MC Scat Cat.
Yes.
That 88. Am I right?
Mm-hmm.
God damn. All right. I'm doing all right.
You're doing pretty good. What about Love Shack?
Love Shack, of course, B-52s. I'm going to say 89.
Good job.
All right.
Smells Like Teen Spirit.
Smells Like Teen Spirit was released in August of 1991. At least the album, Nevermind, was released in, I believe, August 1991. So, yeah. I don't know when the single.
By whom?
Bush? No. It was Nirvana. Better than Ezra? No.
Madonna? Crying.
Crying by Aerosmith. A bad song. And I will say 92 for that. Although it could be 93.
Ooh, 93. What do we remember the video?
Well, was that the one with, that was just Alicia Silverstone. Later, they had the ones with in Liv Tyler.
Yeah, because it was like a trio, right?
Yeah.
Wasn't it like a trio of videos?
Pervy pedophile trio. Yes. But I think that one was just Alicia Silverstone.
Breaking out of school and shit. Waterfalls.
Waterfalls by TLC. 94?
Almost. 95.
Shite.
All right. We're starting to get shaky here. Scream.
By Michael Jackson and Janet Jackson? Is that the Scream? Because there's... Okay, yeah. And, I mean, I'm going to say 97.
95 also.
95 also. Oh, well. Shucks.
We're going to start getting a little meldy here with the years. Is this when you started smoking?
Let's get
weed,
meldy.
I guess?
Get meldy.
Is this when you were smoking weed?
No, honestly, I never smoked weed until like I was in my late 30s, which is bizarre. No, but this definitely was the period where it was like I was just out of college, and probably when I was least, I didn't have a television. Well, just because I was 23, 24, and so it's probably the period where I'm shakiest in terms of years because like all the 80s stuff is like I sat in front of MTV 10 hours a day. So, but yeah, all right. Continue.
Okay. It's all coming back to me now.
Celine Dion, written by Jim Steinman of Meatloaf fame. 98? 97? 96. Yeah.
96,
Yes, yeah, it's all a blur. Yes, yeah, I keep thinking chronologically, so I'm keep moving forward. Okay.
So yeah, no,
Yes.
but so now I'll give you that. No, we're not going any further back than 96. We're going forward. The boy is a mine.
The Boy Is Mine by Brandy and Monica. I'm going to say 96 again. 97?
98.
98. Oh, man. Yeah, it's a blur. It's all
We're
blur.
dancing around here. We're dancing around here. What about Waiting for Tonight?
Waiting for what?
Tonight.
Oh, Waiting for Tonight by Jennifer Lopez. I'm going to say 98 for that.
99.
99.
So late 90s were a blur for Christian.
Apparently.
What about? I will give you. We're in the 2000s now.
Okay.
What about Bye Bye Bye?
Bye Bye Bye, of course. In Stink, as we used to call them. I'm going to say 2001.
What?
2001, all right.
Oh, 2000, sorry.
2000, okay.
2000. Darn it.
All right.
Okay, we're coming around. We're on the last page of iconic music videos. Well, Christian, name the band. And for extra points, get the year right. What about Survivor?
I don't see you tallying these points.
I'm checking.
I see no point tallying. Okay,
I'm
all right. Are you checking the years as well? All right.
Yeah.
I just, I want to see your Waterhouse and Cooper, your accounting.
Struck out. Oh, you can't see because it's keyed out.
Okay, I'm sorry. So what was that one again?
So it's going to be Survivor.
Survivor by Destiny's Child.
Yes.
Really should be Destiny's Children because there's more than one. But, always bothered me.
But I mean, in theory, the number of children changed over time, so maybe it was just safer.
Or maybe it was really all about Beyonce even back then. It was just like, there's really only one Destiny's Child. There's Destiny's Child and then Destiny's Child's friends. I will say 2003 for that.
01.
01, really? Huh, okay. Who'd have thunk it? Huh? Who'd have thunk it?
Strike through. What about... Dun, 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 oh. I was so stupid. I got so excited. I was about to sing you the song as if that's not a gimme.
Well, it sounded to me like...
Can you recognize it off of that?
It actually sounded like Mozart. Like...
Okay,
Anyway, Toxic. Oh, that would have to be after 2006.
Ooh.
Wouldn't it? No, because we talked about it on. Oh no! Okay, no, I got married in 2006. Okay, so I'm gonna say 2004.
Okay, and who is it?
Britney Spears. I know because we used to talk about on Best Week Ever like constantly, and so it was. I had to know about all that dumb shit. But yes, 2004, probably her best song, I would say.
One of them for sure. Bad Romance.
Bad Romance, Lady Gaga. I will say 2007. 2009. Damn it. Gosh darn it. I should have known that. You know what? I could have figured that out. Anyway, sorry.
Well, let's see if you can figure this out.
I remember getting into an argument with a very passionate DJ in San Francisco, doing a morning radio show in San Francisco. And I will admit that I didn't fully get Lady Gaga. I thought it was still in that era. Bad Romance hadn't come out. It was still Just Dance, I think was her first single. And they were just, I sometimes you don't know, like, you just see, but there's various people who have like hits, but you don't know that, like, oh, this person has like an army behind them, like
Oh, yeah.
of rabid fans. And that was like my awakening. Like, oh, okay, I guess Lady Gaga is not just somebody who has a hit. Like she's got, a following of very passionate, mostly gay men.
Well, I mean,
At the
and
time, I'm telling you. Well, I mean, it was definitely. I definitely knew that she was repping the culture.
yes, and I get a lot of my influence through said cultura. So yes, I probably was up on her early because of that.
Yeah, I didn't really understand her. Like, I didn't really quote unquote get her until I found out that, I used to, when Keith and Hemden and I used to know each other, we used to hang out in the Lower East Side, and when I found out that she was from the Lower East Side and she was kind of doing some of the same venues that I was doing in the 90s,
Yeah.
I got it finally. It's like, oh, okay, you're from that world. It's like definitely a poppier aspect of it, but from that sort of, dirtbag drag queen scene, that sort of Wigstock world.
Yeah.
Like that's when I finally like a click for me. It's like, oh, okay, I see what you're trying to do.
Yeah, which is very Bay Area drag also.
Yes.
Runaway.
There's like 8,000 songs called Runaway.
I'll give you the year for that one, 2010.
Okay. 2010 Runaway. I mean Kanye?
Yeah.
Yeah, okay, yeah. Yes. And I'm going to say 2010. No.
I will say in the year 2010, Mariana. What about, we're down to the last two, and the years do jump.
And this is where I definitely might not know at all, because none of these are really in my personal listening habits. But
Wrecking Ball?
Wrecking Ball, Miley Cyrus. I'm going to say 2013.
Yeah!
All right.
After he just says, these are not in my listening. Let me pull out the name.
Well, God, can you believe we've had 7+ years of naked Miley Cyrus? Like that she has been naked Miley Cyrus for longer than she was like cute. Like, like her whole
Hannah
thing. Like
Montana.
like I'm a woman now. Like a lot of child actresses go through that period of like, I'm going to, like Lisa Bonet or whatever, where it's like, I'm going to fucking shock people, but we've had more time now of her being that Miley Cyrus than we did of her being like cute, adorable Miley Cyrus.
I mean, she does have clothes on again, but yes, I do agree.
Yes. Yeah, I think she has. Yeah, go ahead.
Last one.
Humble, Kendrick Lamar. And that was that last year? Jesus Christ. Everything's such a 2018, I'll say.
2017.
Really?
Yeah.
Fuck. I have no sense of time right now. You could have told me.
Trust me.
You could have told me that came out in 2015, or you could tell me it hasn't come out yet, and I would.
It comes out in 2021, Christian. Well, so that thank you for humoring me with that silly little game, and we will round it out. So, SOFEpod.com, Series of Fortune Events, has been around for a few years. And for a long time, I featured drag performers. And along the way, I created what I called Speed Round, which was very drag art influenced. Mm-hmm. And then over time, as I started featuring other types of performers more on the show, I would have a little fun trying to break my brain of how to like mold the question to them. And after trying to break my brain enough times, I was like, you know what? Maybe we just need a version 2 of a Speed Round. So you, sir, get the virgin Speed Round questions.
I've always thought, I've never found a perfect drag queen name for myself. I've always wanted, like, I always admire a good drag queen name. I did have one, and I've been told it's not a good drag queen name, but it made me giggle, which is BJ Lips. Was going to, but I
Christian,
think that
it's very straight guy of you.
Exactly. It really is. It really is. A good drag queen name in my mind, not knowing anything about the culture, is it kind of almost can't be sexual. Like it has to be kind of mundane. Like that's why Head of Lettuce is so great.
Yes.
Like it's just such a dumb, silly
Lady Bunny.
Yeah. So, but I have not found mine yet. Someday.
Well, have you ever been in drag?
I did a drag photo shoot like last year, and we put the kibosh on it. There's a guy, a photographer, who's doing he's a really fantastic photographer, and he's doing a series. He did a series with a bunch of poets where he did like really elaborate portraits based on one of their poems. He's working on the same project now, but with comedians. And so, everyone from Whoopi Goldberg to somebody who's kind of just doing, shows around New York. He's kind of running the gamut. And we did one, and the original concept was on a joke, a bit where I talk about how I have a gay face. I have a straight body, but a gay face, which was on my last album. And like my entire life, just, everyone's always assuming, oh, you're gay, right? And then they see me from the neck down. You're like, clearly not. But so the idea we had was that I would be in drag, but like from the neck down, just like in a sloppy wife beater covered with potato chips and blah, blah, blah. And it just didn't translate. It just, first of all, the makeup person they brought in, he, I think, had a very particular drag style. He was a drag makeup dude, but I ended up just sort of looking more clownish than like a drag queen. And so it exists now only in a couple.
Which is a fine line.
Yes. But it only exists now. I'm going to see if I can find the picture. I can show it to you on the camera, but it's horrifying.
Send it to me. I'll put it in the comments page for the podcast.
I don't know if I'm allowed to. My wife's like, I never want that picture to see the light of day, okay. But I will.
But you'll put it up to the camera.
Yeah, exactly. I don't even know if I still have it. My wife may have deleted it when I wasn't paying attention.
Probably. Let me save you from yourself and done.
Okay, no, all right, enough. No, I can't find it.
Good. But I was going to say, you have to get in full geesh to like meet the monster, and then you can name the monster.
I found it.
Oh it's a cursed image.
It really is a cursed image. Yeah.
You need a wig though. That's the thing. Like,
that's the thing. It's like it looked ridiculous without a wig, and the guy only brought one wig, and that wig looked bad, and so I think the photographer was like, let's just do it without the wig, and then we saw it, was like, no, this doesn't read as anything. It just
you just look like a sad clown.
Yes, exactly, which is not untrue, but yeah. So anyway. Someday I would like to do full drag, just because people say that it unlocks a different part of themselves, and I'm sick of the parts that are currently open, so I'd like to unlock other parts.
I would suggest find a drag performer that as a dude looks like you. They will be the best ones because, and obviously if you like the way that they put themselves, so then that would be like an easy kind of transplant, because it's going to fit your face, it's going to fit, your stature. And then you get a little bit more of a feel of like what it's like to be like in geesh and actually enjoy it.
Apparently, and I do have some memory of this, but I would very often go into my mother's closet and get dressed up in her clothing and then parade around the house like for my parents.
I love it. Well, Mateo Lane knows tons of drag performers, so like it's totally doable. Just call Mateo.
Dare to dream. Anyway, so okay, yes. Speed round.
Speed round. V.2. First time ever. Christian Finnegan. How do you start your day?
I start my day by laying in bed and staring at my phone, holding my phone above my face for half an hour, which I hate. And I'm really trying to find ways to maybe not have my phone by the bed, because I hate that my morning is now a half an hour of laying around.
It's not in my list, but has the phone ever fallen on your face?
Oh, yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
On the list, favorite thing about the place you live in?
Well, we're living up in the woods right now for the most part. Favorite thing about the place I live is and there's a lot to love about being up there. It's especially lately the leaf peeping has been outrageous. There's been lots of foliage for the past 6 weeks, so that's lovely. And we have 2 Adirondack chairs that I can sit outside and just be outside, and I sit with my laptop and look out in the woods and pretend to get work done.
Something you never leave the house without.
There's the 3 essentials, which is, wallet, keys, phone. That's, those are the but beyond that.
Mask now.
Oh, well, yeah, okay, yes.
I'm teasing you.
Good point. Valid. Beyond that, I would say headphones.
Yes, same.
Yeah.
Same. Zombie apocalypse is coming, although sometimes it feels like we're living in it, especially when you see Karens. Who are your 3 people that you want in your survival squad?
People who appear edible, so that I can
So
put some
me.
distance between. Yeah. The slow, the infirm, the.
I'll just throw jokes at them while you get away.
Yeah. I would say people who know how to hide well.
Okay.
I
like that.
I don't care about people. Like, I would rather die. I would rather
survive.
die a zombie than spend time with like gun nuts and survivalists and people like that. Like, let's just hunker down and be artsy New York people. I'm not gonna hang out with some fucking survivalist douchebag.
One side's zombies, one side's QAnon. Which way do you run?
I will run headfirst into the zombies.
What is one important life skill everyone should have?
Oh boy, I don't have it, whatever it is. I would say life skill that everyone should have. I would say you should. I'm sorry, I'm fucking up the speed round.
No, it's okay.
Ability to answer questions quickly and coherently.
Hey, that's a skill. What is a guilty pleasure of yours?
Are there any other kind? Truly. I haven't watched it recently, but for a long time, my answer to this would have been the show Bar Rescue, which is hot garbage. It is the worst.
It is.
But having been a former waiter and very bad bartender, there was something about it felt like picking a scab, because that dude, John Taffer, reminds me of every GM of every restaurant I ever worked in. And I would hate watch it. And I've seen every episode. I've even been to a couple of the bars that were on the show.
It's almost like working out daddy issues.
Yeah. And just that specific archetype, that guy, like, street smart. Like, I didn't go to college, but I'm smarter than you. Like, that kind of quality, And I remember once I worked in a restaurant, and the ownership changed, and the general manager walked in and gave us a big speech, and he said, here's what you need to know about me. I'm about 3 things: exceeding customer expectations. And I quit because I was like, no, thank you. I do not like you.
Yeah, sir, those are words, not things.
Yes. But he counted, people listening to podcasts can hear it, but the really thing that bothered me is he counted 1, 2, 3 going pinky, ring finger, middle finger. Like, that's just really unlikable.
That would bother you the most.
Yeah.
To me, I'm more about the grammar. One word, speaking of words, one word friends would use to describe you.
Fuckface? No,
sorry, I shouldn't have laughed so hard.
No, I would say, boy, one word. I would say, man, I don't know. I don't have friends.
Is it more than one word? Your wife? I don't know. What's
one
the word that maybe
I would
Cameron
say
used to describe you?
What is there a word to describe someone who has to pick scabs, like who can't let things lie?
Obsessive?
Yeah, I guess, but like intellectually, like intellectually obsessive compulsive,
Okay.
in the sense that, like, if somebody says something that doesn't make sense or uses a word that incorrectly or things like that, like, I can't help it. Like, I'm sorry, I have to say this, but that's not what that means. Or like, it's an unlikable quality.
You have a compulsion to sometimes fixate on things.
Yes. I think that's true of a lot of people who get into comedy. It's just that, like, that thing that most people think, oh, that's interesting, and move on with their day. The comedian's like, no, must chew on this for an hour. Must rehash conversation I had 8 years ago.
Oh my gosh. 2 more questions. Okay. What is your favorite emoji?
I
How did I
Don't
know?
use
I
emojis.
when I was writing this down, knowing it would be a speed round, I was like, I bet Christian is going to say, I don't use them.
I
I
really
don't
hate
even
them.
like texting.
I really hate them. The only emoji I ever use, other than to make a joke about using emoji,
It's
like
all.
sometimes, I use the musical notes to imply if something's being sung. But to me,
You're using an emoji, sir.
yes, but to me, especially the original sort of face emojis, happy face, sad face, all that, it's like nothing to me deflates the impact of a joke more than a laughing face next to it. That's like that immediately renders whatever joke you're making, you're like funny office person when you add the face emoji, like they're crying, laughing. It's like, oh, okay, so
Are you crying?
when it's not you're completely. It's like telling somebody a joke and then be like, ha ha, isn't that funny? Ha 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 ha. Just say the joke. Let other people decide if it's funny.
Oh my gosh. Well, final, excuse me. Final question, sir.
Yes.
What would you, I feel like, I don't even know. Is this going to break your brain?
My brain is very easily broken these days. So
What would you like to be known / remembered for? And I broke his brain, ladies and gentlemen.
I would like to be known for not being full of shit.
Okay. I'll take it.
If that makes sense. My definition of that is slightly different than other people's. I think I
hear that, and I hear you want to be received with authenticity, like as authentic.
Yeah, I mean, as being someone who didn't live in bad faith, who didn't try to present himself as something he wasn't, and who tried to live as honestly as possible.
I'll take it. Yeah. Well, just like that, we get to the end of the show. I'm so sad. Dear Sir Christian Finnegan, not including your gosh darn website, where can they find you on the social medias?
No, nobody cares.
Yes, they do, Christian. Yes, they do.
No, I'm saying nobody cares about websites.
I have a day job, and I maintain not one, but 2 websites for my side projects.
2 is also the number of people who have visited those websites. No, I'm not saying not because of you. I'm saying nobody visits websites anymore. Websites aren't a thing. They aren't a thing.
I purposefully drive traffic to my website because I work so hard on it. But that's just the difference.
I'm sure. Yes. But I just think, like, in general, it's, whenever, yeah, whatever. I just think websites are a relic of the first part of the 21st century. I think personal websites are becoming, I mean, I wish they weren't. To me, that was the peak of the internet of internet reality was like Blogspot, like that era, where people had websites and they maintained a blog, and maybe the blog was incorporated into their website. The minute everything became about Facebook, Twitter, whatever, the internet was drained of its fun, and everything just became a shouting match. And
But what if personal websites become the vinyl records of the internet someday?
That's entirely possible. I could see that. Yeah, a little boutique thing. And I will be here for that, as the kids say.
Well, please go to my website, sofepod.com, SOFEPOD.com. That is where you can find all of the links to all of the things, all of the episodes. I now upload the videos there. You can find comments. You can find pictures. Send me a message if you want a sticker. Don't go to Christian's website, but do go to his social media links, which can be found.
It's just Twitter. I'm basically entirely on Twitter. The company that put out my last album is trying to convince me to get onto TikTok, and I'm like, you do know that I'm me, right? And that's creepy and weird. But I have seen some of my fellow comedians who I respect find a way to use TikTok in a way that felt organic to them, and it's not them doing those like makeup reveals. It's not that. Yeah, they're not joining into the dance things. They're finding ways to use stand-up comedy in a TikTok thing, and so maybe I will venture into that world. But pretty much just
TikTok. I've heard there's money in TikTok.
I know. Yeah, I know.
I mean, if for anything.
No one ever accused me of knowing what I'm doing career-wise, but yeah. So pretty much just Twitter, at Christ Finnegan on Twitter.
Perfect. This has been an honor. Thank you so
my dear.
much.
Thanks for having me. I appreciate it.
I really, I'm not much for a praying type, but lately I have been trying to hold space for like sending good energy to people, and I will be adding you and your wife and your businesses and your ventures and all of that to that list.
Thank you. I appreciate it. We'll take all we can get. And you as well.
Well, yes, and this is when we say goodbye, adieu, arrivederci. Please subscribe. This is, if you're watching the video, this is a very baby YouTube channel. My goal for 2021 is to become a YouTube partner. How can I accomplish that? You subscribe and you watch all the videos, and then you can help me keep doing this. Yay! This is when we say bye, Kristen.
Bye. See you later.
Bye.
MeMeCherry presents a series of fortunate events. Fortunate events. Fortunate events. A series of fortunate events.